Beautiful. So today will be about the philosophical dimension of trading. This will be like the market as a laboratory for human consciousness. Trading is, while often perceived as purely financial, trading is at its core a psychological and philosophical encounter with yourself. You see, most people think about trading. When they think about it, they think about charts, setups, indicators, math, strategy, maybe even probability. Thing is, very rarely does anyone address the deeper truth behind it all. And so trading is not a it's not solely a financial activity. What it also is a psychological and a philosophical encounter with yourself. Every time you sit down at the charts, you're not just analyzing price action, you're also meeting the structure of your own mind. Things like your fears, your habits, your emotional patterns, your internal contradictions, your level of presence, level of stillness, the way you relate to reality itself. And this is why people fail. And it's not because they don't know strategy, but because they don't know themselves. So, a big factor in this lecture will be understanding that how you gauge life is how you gauge the charts. The market becomes a stage where psychological, philosophical, and spiritual dynamics play out with precision. In everyday life, you can hide your emotional instability behind routines, distractions, coping mechanisms. You can escape these things. You can escape, or you can escape up over to comfortable environments. However, in trading, these cracks, those become visible. They become magnified once you begin to face uncertainty. Once you begin to face volatility, once you begin to face risk, trading becomes a mirror of consciousness, a test of your presence, a practice field for detachment. It's how I see it. A training ground for sovereignty, loyalty to one's own system. And in this way, trading becomes philosophical because the chart forces you to confront the same truths that govern existence itself, such as impermanence, uncertainty, the limits of your control, attachment to identity, the illusion of security. Trading compresses the human experience into minutes and hours instead of months and years. You get immediate results here, instantaneous. Everything you struggle with in life shows up instantly on a chart, magnified and impossible to ignore. Because look at it, think about it. You can hide from your problems in your personal life. You can always distract yourself. You can smoke your problems away. You can socialize your problems away. You can avoid difficult emotions. You can tell yourself stories that justify your habits. However, in the markets, you can't hide. The market exposes your relationship with reality. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, only does two things here. It either accelerates your self awareness or self destruction, depending on how willing you are to observe yourself. So, yeah, your performance as a trader is quite literally tied to your level of consciousness. We talked about the map of consciousness from David R. Hawkins. We're going to get into some of that work later. But if the inner world is chaotic, your trading will be chaotic. If the inner world is disciplined, your trading will be disciplined. If the inner world is attached, fearful, reactive, ego driven, your trading will reflect that exact energy with precision. So that's where the philosophical factor becomes real, becomes active. The quality of your inner life determines the quality of your outer results, as within, so without, as above, so below. And this isn't just motivational talk. This isn't even no motivational talk. This is not theory, this is observable truth. Your life and your trading are not two separate paths. They are one continuous expression of who you are and how you relate to reality. But yes, as I get through this lecture, as above, so below, or really more so as within, so without, that claim will be proven to you as we explore how you interpret uncertainty, how you hold fear, how you respond to impermanence, how you attach identity to outcomes, how your life habits shape your execution, how the future version of you must think and behave, how alignment creates mastery here. When you master the inner architecture, the outer system, you're trading. These things become stable, they become consistent, powerful, and that's the philosophical dimension. This is why we begin here, the philosophical dimension of trading. Know thyself, inner orbit. So as we dive into why this matters, the market, the act, the career, the niche of trading is a mirror. The market exposes what life allows you to hide. You can think of you can think of trading such as, you can think of trading like an MRI, like an MRI scan of the psyche. What shows up on the chart is not bad discipline or bad entries. It's the reflection of how you live, react, and relate to reality outside of trading. The market is simply just a mirror. It reflects the exact state of your inner life. The chart is not just price action, it's like a psychological MRI, like a psychological x-ray. It shows you what you normally hide from yourself. Are y'all following me, by the way? Amazing. But yes, trading reveals what you avoid. Most people live their lives avoiding discomfort, avoiding uncertainty, avoiding emotional responsibility, avoiding silence, presence, patience, stillness, truth. Life gives us space to run from ourselves. You can avoid hard conversations. You can distract yourself with entertainment. You can numb yourself with habits. You can pretend you're patient when you're not. You can convince yourself you're disciplined when you're not. But the market, the market exposes everything. There is nowhere to hide. Your emotional habits, your psychological patterns, your unresolved fears, they all show up inside of your execution. For example, if you avoid discomfort in life, you avoid proper stop loss placement in trading, you avoid drawdown, you despise drawdown, you hate drawdown, you judge drawdown. Drawdown is your absolute enemy. If you're one who needs control in life, you overtrade and you force setups. You force the market to work in your favor one way or another. If you're one who fears uncertainty, you cut winners short. Winning trades, you cut them short. You take what's already certain, even if it's crumbs, and you run with it. What's yours to take from the infinite pot of wealth never becomes your keep. Because the one most influential thing between you and what's yours to earn, take, and keep is uncertainty. Uncertainty. If you attach your worth to outcomes, you can't follow rules. It becomes nearly impossible to. Because even with your rules in place, you'll still fail. You'll still lose. Losing is inevitable. Everyone loses eventually. And if the outcome of losing alters your sense of worth, then you, my good student, have an issue that needs solving. It's exactly what I'm here to do. But yes, the market simply reveals the truth of your internal state, hence why I call it a psychological x-ray, a MRI for the psyche. Joseph Guyon, from a book, he's the author of the book Don't Believe Everything You Think, and it's a book I recently read. He teaches that most of the suffering we experience comes from believing every thought the mind produces. And in life, you can hide behind these thoughts. However, in trading, believing every thought that comes to mind leads to you experiencing things like FOMO, FOMO entries, premature exits, catastrophic, bad losing streaks, storytelling during trades, impulsive moments, impulsive stretches, abandoning your system, trying to control what you cannot. Your mind lies to you constantly. And that's why believing every thought leads to suffering. You might have thoughts like, oh, this look like this trade, this the price look like it's running. I might as well get in now. Price look like it's reversing. I'm gonna close early. Oh, you're missing out. I'm missing out. Damn, I should make back that loss today. Yo, this trade has to win. These here are not market truths. These are reflections of your inner climate. The chart reveals whether you believe your thoughts or whether you are aware of your thoughts. So yes, to tie this point together even further, if your life is chaotic, your trading will be chaotic. If your life lacks structure, your trading lacks structure. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid proper risk, proper discipline, proper execution. If you cling to emotions, you cling to losing trades. If you have no boundaries, you break your trading rules. If you live reactively, you trade reactively. Reactive executive mind, we were talking about that a few weeks. It's on the YouTube, by the way. The person who sits at the desk is the exact same person who lives the rest of their life once the charts are closed. Once TradingView is done, it's closed. App is closed, everything. There is no trading self and the normal me self. There is only one self. These are integrated. It's the same person. It's the self. And your results reflect how aligned or misaligned that self is. So yes, how you gauge life is how you gauge the charts. If you habitually avoid discomfort in life, you will avoid taking difficult but necessary actions in trading. You will avoid, if you avoid in life, honest conversations, responsibilities, difficult feelings, that turns into avoiding executing your plan, sitting through drawdown, sticking with a valid trade because it aligns with your system. If you lack self-trust in life, you will not trust your system. Poor decision. You will have poor decision-making abilities in life, in your daily life. You become uncertain in execution. If you suppress your emotions in life, you will explode emotionally in trading. You'll have impulsive moments, impulsive stretches. Trading is just too intense. It's too real. Trading is too harsh. It's too emotionally brutal to hide from yourself. You can't just hide behind those thoughts. You can't just think your way out of, oh, it's all right. Or, oh, it ain't that bad. Reframes don't work here as much as you think they would. You can't hide from yourself. It reveals you to you. It's a mirror. If you are reactive in your relationships, you'll be reactive in price action. It's the same nervous system. It's the same reactivity. You see, a lot of you live your lives on edge, emotions pent up, looking for any reason, any valid reason to crash out. Looking for any reason to let today be the day that you release all that built up shit you've been holding up for weeks, months, years. So you tell me, with that internal atmosphere present, what makes you think your mind and body won't possibly justify you using the market as an avenue to crash the fuck out on any given day? Factors like these are why lash outs happen. People have good trading days for weeks, months, and they'll throw it all away in one day because they haven't thrown away what's within them that's no longer serving them. You following me? You feel me? That's right. So yeah, anyways, if you chase pleasure in life, you'll chase impulsive traits. That instant gratification wiring that causes sabotage in markets. You chase pleasure in life, you will chase impulsive trades. Seeking. Chasing pleasure is why most people cheat after all. Right? So you tell me, what makes you think a person who would cheat on their partner not cheat on their strategy? I mean, it's the same internal process, right? It comes from the same equation. Uncommitment to claimed commitment. Facts are not facts. Right or right? Right or right? So yes, you're not trading the market. You're trading your inner world. The market isn't personal. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't punish you. It doesn't test you. It simply reflects the person who shows up. If the inner world changes, the outer results shift automatically. From there, trading becomes easier. Not because the market changes, but because you change. I really love helping y'all, bro. Like, I love, man, life is amazing, my nigga. Excuse my language. Anyways, uncertainty is the core of existence. You are not trading the market. The market is a playground of the unknown, identical to life. I want to move into something most traders completely misunderstand. Just genuinely misunderstand, and that's uncertainty. Certainty is not a trading concept, it's a life concept. The market just forces you to confront that directly. Every human being lives with uncertainty, an uncertain future, uncertain relationships, uncertain health, uncertain opportunities, uncertain outcomes. In life, you can avoid thinking about the unknown. You can create routines that numb the unknown. You can distract yourself from the unknown. You can pretend tomorrow is predictable, 100% predictable. Trading, though, trading removes all of that shit instantaneously as if it never existed. Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite philosophers of all time, Stoicism, he says you have no control over external events. You can only control your response. Most people they read that philosophically. However, traders live it brutally. Every candle, every tick, every point, every setup, it's a direct confrontation with the unknown. However, let me give you the key. Here's the key. Uncertainty has never been the problem. It is your relationship to uncertainty that's the problem. English or Spanish? Marcus Aurelius. He has made meditations. I will give you sources at the end of this lecture. But yes, uncertainty has never been the problem. It's your relationship to uncertainty. That is what is the problem. Let's take the ocean, for example. Let's look at the ocean as an analogy. Let's suppose uncertainty is like the ocean. You can't just control the waves. You can't predict their timing perfectly. You can't force the tide when it comes to the ocean. All you can do is learn how to surf. But most traders don't surf uncertainty, they fight uncertainty. They want waves to move only in the direction of their bias. They want the tide to switch on command. They want the ocean to obey them. You see, the market punishes that level of arrogance. The ocean does not submit to the swimmer. The market does not submit to the trader. When you stop fighting the waves, you begin surfing. Surf, motherfucker. David R. Hawkins, in letting go the pathway of to surrender, or of surrender. Sorry, we're going to be doing a book study on that next week. By the way, just letting you guys know. Be present. This will be very great for your trading. However, Hawkins, in letting go, he explains that uncertainty becomes threatening only when we resist it. What you resist persists. when you let go of needing to know, when you let go of needing to be right, when you let go of needing to predict, needing the outcome, the emotional tension there disappears. Through that release comes clarity. Most traders don't need more strategy, they just need less internal resistance, less noise. Less is best. Resistance to uncertainty creates internal pressure. Surrender dissolves this pressure, and that reveals clarity there. For example, in life, uncertainty, what it does, it makes people cling. Makes people cling to routine, comfort, predictability. In trading, though, much more brutal. Uncertainty creates hesitation, it creates fear, impulsivity, and that what if, those what if spirals. What if I lose? What if this goes the wrong way? What if the price reverses on me? What if it hits my stop and then it goes to the TP that I had? So yeah, to conclude this, here's the truth. The market is not uncertain. Your thinking is. Price is just neutral. Volatility is neutral. Your resistance is what makes that chaotic. Your attachment is what makes that painful. Your insecurity is what makes that threatening. Your mental projections is what makes that scary. When your relationship to uncertainty matures, ladies and gentlemen, trading becomes a lot easier, especially internally. And it's not because the market changed, but because you did. Uncertainty is not a threat. It is a natural environment of possibility. You can't escape uncertainty. You can only surf it. You can only surf the wave, not fight it. Why I said found it all good now. I can't hear. Is there audio sense? You can hear me now. Great. Amazing. Now to continue. Impermanence and ego death on the chart. Wait, I just talked about this. I was on the wrong one. Okay. Whatever. Impermanence and ego death on the chart. Everything ends. Impermanence. Trends, streaks, biases. One of the first realities the market teaches. Brutally. Without apology. Nothing lasts. No trend lasts. No winning streak lasts. No strategy works forever. No bias stays valid. No phase of the market remains fixed. Everything is in motion. Everything in this universe is in motion. Everything is impermanent. Everything will eventually be subject to change. No matter what it is, everything will change form. Everything will age. Most traders behave as if price is supposed to stay predictable, stable, consistent. As if the world owes them a result to their liking. And that's not a trading flaw, that is a human flaw. Impermanence is a universal law. Every identity you cling to eventually becomes outdated. The chart teaches humility by making attachment painful. For example, in life, you have things like relationships, those change. People evolve, opinions evolve. The opinion someone may have of you today may not be the same opinion tomorrow. Identities fall away, circumstances shift, emotions come and go, all of them. Yet we become attached to comfort, to certainty, to familiar patterns. Trading simply reveals the cost of that attachment. So when you cling to a bias, when you cling to an analysis, a trend, when you cling to your opinion, when you cling to your ego, the market brutally punishes that clinging, not the analysis itself. Impermanence is not a problem. Your resistance to impermanence is what is. For example, let's look at the seasons. You got 4 of them. Winter. Winter does not apologize for melting into spring. Summer does not ask permission to cool into fall. The market moves exactly that same way. Cycles, conditions, phases. The problem here is not the changing seasons. The problem is the trader refusing to change with them, refusing to surf. Wanting a trend to continue is winter, wishing it could stay summer. You feel me? Life moves, the market moves, your ego resists movement. Mind you, the ego only exists to protect you, but we're gonna dive into that. Are you following me? Damn, 48 of you motherfuckers in here? Y'all deep, I ain't gonna lie. Let's continue. But where ego dies, clarity emerges. Where ego dies, clarity emerges. David R. Hawkins, once again, he teaches that the ego is constantly seeking control, attachment, and permanence. All of these are illusions. The ego wants to be right. The ego wants to predict. The ego wants to look competent. It wants to avoid loss. The ego wants to protect your identity. And so that's why when a trend shifts or a bias breaks, the ego doesn't want to let go. It refuses that. This is why traders refuse to cut losing trades. Traders refuse to hold biases long after they're invalidated. They double down instead of detaching. They take their losses personally. They feel insulted by the market as if it has a personal vendetta against them. The truth is, though, the market is not attacking you. It is attacking your ego. The ego believes it is the center of reality. Not for nothing, though. The market reminds it that it isn't. Every loss is an invitation to surrender identity, not performance. This is about you, the inner you. And so with your relationship with impermanence in life, it directly mirrors your relationship with impermanence in trading. How you gauge impermanence in life is how you gauge impermanence in trading. If you cling to your memories, you cling to bad trades. If you cling to identity, you cling to being right. If you resist change, you misread new conditions. If you fear endings, you fear trend reversals. If you attach emotions to outcome, you attach your ego to results. The thing is, though, impermanence is not the enemy. Your ego is, ladies and gentlemen. The ego is a mask built with the sole purpose to protect you. It isn't the true you, though. You are the space in which ego occupies itself in. Listen, yo, we approaching Christmas and you still wearing masks like it's Halloween. Fuck is you doing? We gotta take off these masks. We gotta take off these masks. It's Christmas. We approaching. Nothing is here to stay. Not you, not the money. None of the money you make, not the partners you have, the materials you got, the vices you indulge. None of it is here to last. Everything must come to an end eventually. Everything comes and goes. And what does so comes sooner than you think. So stop attaching your well-being and your sense of self to all that is impermanent, because impermanence is mandatory. Attachment becomes pointless at that point because it's gonna leave anyway. It's going to leave anyways. Impermanence is not chaos. It is intelligence, especially combined with awareness. It is the natural movement of reality. It is a universal law. It is the clearing of what is outgrown. Your job is not to fight it, predict it, control it. Your job is to align with it, surf it. The trader who can release identity, release narratives, release attachment is the trader who sees clearly. Clarity comes from the ego death, not strategy. Clarity is your best edge when it comes to this niche. Now, I'm sorry I didn't have much time to work on this slide here. However, the illusion of control. Control is comforting, but it's false. It's comforting, but it's false. It's not real. It's not brutal. It's not harsh. Not to say that truth has to be that, but you see what it's protecting you against. One of the most destructive illusions in both life and trading is the belief that we are or should be in control. Not control of ourselves, which that there is healthy and necessary, but in control of our reality. All that is external of us. Most people live their lives trying to manipulate outcomes, avoid uncertainty, manage perception, and force things to unfold their way. Trading exposes a truth that life allows you to avoid. Thing is, you never had control, you only had the illusion of it. And so we crave control because we fear chaos in your daily life. You may shape your identity to avoid judgment, overplan your day to avoid surprises, think every second through to avoid any kind of surprises. You cling to relationships to avoid loss. You overthink decisions to avoid regret. That right there gives a sense of psychological safety, but it's mostly false because life never guaranteed stability. You simply learned how to distract yourself from instability. The market, though, strips away those distractions. So suddenly, out of nowhere, outcomes become unpredictable. The next candle is unknown. The environment shifts with no warning. Your plans, your trading system means nothing to the market. And that's when the nervous system begins to panic. Not because the market is dangerous, but because your ego hates being powerless. So what that looks like in motion, you begin to move your stop loss because I'll probably come back. Or not that I'll probably come back, but price might come back. You start forcing trades because you want control. You over leverage because you want the market to pay you now. Greed. You overanalyze because you fear randomness. So again, Marcus Aurelius. In Meditations, Aurelius, he journaled, he said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is the reality trading forces you to confront. You cannot control the market's decision. You cannot control the market's timing, volatility, the pace of moves, the outcome of any single trade. However, what you can control your behavior, your rules, your risk, your stillness, your presence, your emotional state, your expectations, your interpretation of data. Most traders flip these lists and make it the other way around. They try to control outcomes and neglect controlling themselves. And this is why they break every time. And it's not because they lack skill, but because they chase a form of control the market will never give them. Attack, you are the man, your mind is your biggest enemy. Focus. Correct. So to continue, Eckhart Tolle, who is the author of The Power of Now, one of my favorite books, one of my first self-help books that really got me into the discovery of myself. He says, resistance creates suffering. Eckhart Tolle says suffering is created by resisting what is, the isness, what just simply is, what the universe, what God, whoever placed to be what is at this moment. You're resisting that. And every time you fight the market's reality, you suffer. Your execution deteriorates. Your perception narrows. Your emotional state becomes reactive. You're no longer in control of you. Resistance equals emotional distortion. and perceptive distortion. Acceptance equals clarity. Trading becomes easier when you stop arguing with price and you start observing it. You start surfing it. So, yes, with anything, whatever you've been trying to control in life is exactly what you try to control in the markets. What you control in life, you control in the markets. And so the point of this entire lecture is to bridge the gap. The way you gauge life is how you gauge life, the market. If you try to control people, you try to control price. If you try to control the future, you try to predict candles. If you try to control outcomes, you move stops. You over leverage, you over analyze, you over risk. If you try to control how others perceive you, you take your emotional losses personally as if the market is perceiving you a certain way, has something against you. If you avoid vulnerability, you avoid letting losses be losses. You avoid letting losses be just what is and just part of the process. Your nervous system runs this program no matter where you are. And so however there's an interesting something I've realized is there's an interesting realization, a paradox that occurs when you let go of control. You see, through this dichotomy of control, you begin to realize how powerless you truly are. And through that is where you realize, where you begin to discover the number one most hidden reserve of power that has always been abundant within you. Through your powerless, you discover power. Control is not your edge, clarity is. Control is not safety, presence is. Control is not intelligence, discipline is. The moment you stop trying to control what cannot be controlled, your trading becomes aligned with the true nature of markets. Your life becomes aligned with the true nature of reality. Control is an illusion. Execution is what's real, that is here. So yes, that's me moving SL like, oh, it's going to come back exactly. Now to continue, the two selves. The two selves. Life habits equals your trading habits. Life and trading are not separate here. Your trading behavior is the same as your life behavior. Sorry, I'm just looking through comments, see if I missed anything. Okay, great. Now, so right, your core self with its habits and nervous system is your trading self. Pressure intensifies existing life patterns. One of the biggest illusions traders tend to carry is this idea that their trading self is somehow different from their normal self. It's almost as if the moment they sit at their desk, they transform into a different identity. A more disciplined version, a more focused version, like a mode, a more rational version. The reality here is that you must confront that you trade exactly the way you live. There is no separation because it's an exact mirror. The same nervous system you take into your relationships, your responsibilities, your habits, your stress, and to gauge with the rest of what life throws at you is the exact same nervous system executing your trades. There is no switch. There is no trading mode. There is only you. There is the self. There is no two selves. There is only self. That's one thing. That's one being. The trading self is not a different self. It's the same nervous system, the same habits, the same emotional history. It's placed in a high risk, a high stake environment, though. So your life habits, these don't disappear. They just intensify on the chart. They just amplify. If you procrastinate in life, you procrastinate on execution. You wait, wait, wait. If you avoid discomfort in life, you avoid discipline stops. The supposed stops according to your system. If you rush through tasks in life, you rush through trades. If you can't keep promises to yourself in your daily life, in life in general, you break your trading rules. And how is it that you can trust yourself if you just continue to break promises to yourself? Of course you're going to break your trading rules. You can't trust how you trade if you can't even trust yourself. You're inconsistent with who you are. How can you be consistent in the charts? If you're reactive emotionally, you become very reactive to every single candle. It has power over you. The candle runs you. You are a slave to the candle. You are a slave to these rectangles that change colors with fucking sticks at the top and the bottom. If you lack emotional regulation, the market exposes that instantaneously. You lack structure. Your trading is chaotic. You chase dopamine. You chase trades. If you sabotage in life, you sabotage your account. The market doesn't create your problems. It just reveals your problems. If you seek validation, you chase trades hoping to feel right. You see, these are all subtle habits that people seem to skip over as if it has no effect on their execution in the charts. However, ladies and gentlemen, that is wrong. You see, the Stoics understood that the quality of your character determines the quality of your outcomes. The Stoics, for example, in trading, discipline would be considered your character. Patience is character. Equanimity, we're going to get to equanimity soon. It's a word I recently just learned. But equanimity is character. Humility is character. Emotional regulation is character. Whatever character you embody in life is precisely the character that shows up on the chart. No strategy, no matter how good the strategy is, no strategy can override personality. No technical edge can override character flaws. A weak inner world produces weak execution. A strong inner world produces strong execution. The market just merely reflects exactly who you are. If you're messy in life, your charts will reflect that chaos. If you are impulsive in life, the market will punish that impulsivity. If you avoid responsibility in life, you will avoid accountability for your trades. The way you gauge life is the way you gauge your trading. If you lie to yourself in life, you will lie to yourself in the chart. These things are not philosophy. This is neurobiology and pattern repetition. It's the exact same system showing up in two different niches. The self is not hidden. Like it's not hidden, and best believe it will pop up in your trading to make its presence known, impactful. And so this isn't no trading problem. There is no trading problem. There's only a you problem that shows up through trading, that shows up through your execution. When you upgrade the way you live, you upgrade the way you trade. The outer world changes only when the inner architecture is rebuilt. You do not become a better trader by learning more setups. You become a better trader by becoming a more aligned, sovereign, grounded human being. Trading is simply the mirror that reveals how close or how far you are from that exact alignment. You hear me? You hearing me? You hearing me? Are you putting down what I'm dropping? Or I don't even know how that saying goes. Can you conceptualize what I'm putting down here? Can you conceptualize what I'm putting down here? There we go. There we go. Now to the next slide. Let's talk about Stoicism, because this is a very important or very crucial aspect that comes with becoming the most optimal trader you can be psychologically, which influences how optimal you are technically. Stoicism, when it comes to trading, your calm is part of your edge. When people hear Stoicism, they think emotionlessness. That's not what the Stoics taught, though, however. Stoicism is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about remaining sovereign over them, acting how you're supposed to despite them. And that distinction is everything when it comes to trading, because trading is one of the few activities in life that forces you into emotional contact engagement with uncertainty, risk, pride, fear, greed, ego, disappointment. Stoicism is not optional in this environment. It's required here. Acting despite what you are feeling or going through internally. You still act. Stoicism isn't about quotes, it's about internal operation. And that utilizes things such as presence under pressure, disciplined perception, emotional neutrality, non-bias like states, action without attachment. So you have Epictetus. I would consider that my favorite philosopher. All of these niggas is my favorite philosophers. I say each one is my favorite philosopher. All of them are. All of them. But Epictetus, he says it's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. It's not events that disturb us, but our judgments about these events. This is the foundation of trading psychology. The candle doesn't disturb you, it doesn't move you. However, your interpretation of it does. The loss doesn't destroy you. The meaning you attach to your losses is what does. The missed move doesn't hurt you. The story your mind tells you about the miss is what wounds you there. Epictetus is essentially describing the modern trader's downfall. What ruins them, and it's not the event, but the narrative of the event. In life, this narrative shapes your relationships and choices. In trading, this narrative shapes your entries and exits. You're not reacting to price here. You're reacting to your mind's commentary, perception about price. And that is where the real enemy lies. That is where change is supposed to be made if it's not serving your best good in trading. You have Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, great philosopher. He says we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. So here, traders don't suffer because of the chart. They suffer because of anticipation. They fear losing money. They fear being wrong. They fear missing out. They fear drawdown. They fear looking foolish. Reality is none of these factors exist on the chart. They exist only in imagination. And so what Seneca says here, and how it translates, is your mind projects far more danger than the moment actually contains. So you have to strip these illusions away. And this is why Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now, he emphasizes presence. This is why David R. Hawkins in Letting Go, he teaches letting go of the emotional charge. The suffering is not in the market, it's in the mind. And so what Stoicism does, What it does to your performance, it eliminates emotional decision making. Stoicism reduces emotional volatility, allows you to execute based on rules and data, not impulse. Emotions become information, not instructions. It prevents Stoicism prevents revenge trading. You see, the Stoics, they separate the event from the emotion, making it far less likely for you to act out of anger or frustration. You experience increased patience, trade selectivity. Stoicism helps you detach from the urge to act, making waiting part of your strength rather than a struggle. It strengthens your discipline under pressure. A Stoic mindset keeps your behavior consistent, even in volatile or stressful environments. Stoicism reduces fear of loss. The Stoics accept uncertainty and impermanence, making losses simply part of the process. It's not a personal failure. Stoicism allows cleaner risk management. It eliminates attachment to outcomes. It increases resilience even after losing streaks. Stoicism gives you the ability to reset quickly without spiraling into self-doubt, overreaction. It builds trust in your system and in yourself. You remove the emotional noise. You rely more on process and less on fleeting feelings, things that are impermanent here. This is pretty much all you need in trading. You have this, the 95% of the work is done. Because 80 to 90% of trading is psychological. You get that part in check, you straight, bro. Now, so I wanted to talk about this word, equanimity. There, type that in the chat. Equanimity. This is what you will call the true edge. Equanimity, I discovered this word recently and I want you all to add this to your bag. Everyone. Equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain calm, centered, unshaken, rational, grounded, even when everything around you shifts. It's not numbness, it's sovereignty, it's not suppression, it's stability, it's not apathy, it's awareness. Equanimity in life equals equanimity in trading. If you are emotionally stable in your relationships, in your decisions, and daily life, you will be emotionally stable in your execution. If you are chaotic in life, you will be chaotic in your trades. The skill is not technical, it's spiritual, it's philosophical, it's psychological. Stoicism here is not a philosophy to think about, it is a philosophy to embody. And when you embody it, trading becomes a place where emotions inform you, but they don't govern you. They don't determine your actions. And that's because the market rewards that state, the stoic state, the calm mind, the disciplined perception, the objective action, no attachment to outcome. Stoicism isn't an advantage in trading, ladies and gentlemen. It is a psychological foundation. And without that foundation, strategy collapses. With it, even the most simple systems become powerful. Seneca, he teaches you to stop suffering from imagined scenarios. Epictetus teaches you to stop reacting to judgments. Marcus Aurelius teaches you to control your inner state. Eckhart Tolle, he teaches you to stay present. David Hawkins, he teaches you to release all the emotional storms. Together, these point to the same truth. Trading mastery equals emotional mastery. Emotional mastery is life mastery. This all ties together. The way you govern your inner world is the way you govern your trades. Understand me? Great. Amazing. Mastery of the markets begins with the mastery of oneself. And with that said, correct. Continue. The dichotomy of control. Another philosophy which is talked about by Epictetus. Learned it exactly from him, and I apply this to every aspect in life. The dichotomy of control. You see, mastery begins when you stop trying to control what was never yours to control in the first place. The Stoics, Epictetus, who taught something simple but revolutionary, something that directly maps onto trading. There are things within your control and things outside of your control. Confusing these two is the root of suffering. Most traders, most people in life never grasp this distinction, which is why they stay emotionally unstable. So let's unpack this, the dichotomy of control. It divides into two sections, things you control and things you do not control. What you do control, trading, you control your risk, your discipline, your precision, your position sizing, your execution. You control your emotional state, your daily habits, your interpretation, your preparation. What you do not control, you don't control the next candle, the outcomes, volatility, the speed of your moves, news, the market reaction, sentiment. Most traders reverse this dichotomy. They try to control outcomes and neglect their behavior. They spend 95% of their emotional energy on the side they do not control. And this is the source of almost all psychological suffering in the markets. All of it. You're not stressed because of price. You're stressed because you're trying to control something that isn't yours. Price isn't yours to control. Once you give that money away, that money's gone. Your control issues in trading are the same as your control issues in life. As I've said, you try to control people, you try to control price. You try to control outcomes in life, you try to control setups. You try to control uncertainty, you try to micromanage your trades, move stops all the time. If you fear letting go in your relationships, you'll fear letting your winning relationships run out of uncertainty. If you cling to your identity, even though this thing here is impermanent, you cling to your bias. It's the same patterns, but a different arena. It's the same stroke, different hole. That was mad Diddy. This is practically the basis of what I teach, though. And I'm repeating this over and over again. Through your powerlessness of what remains external of you, you discover the true power of what's internal, which is your true edge. That's your true edge here, ladies and gentlemen. Nigga said, hey, yo. So, yes. Same strokes, different hole. Let's continue. You see, sanity returns when you stop negotiating with reality. You just stop that. Success begins when you treat trading as a practice of internal control, not external control. It's your practicing grounds. See, this is the heart of Stoicism applied into the markets. You control yourself, you release the rest that is outside of yourself, you execute with clarity, you accept outcomes without suffering. This is where emotional freedom begins. This is where it activates. And that's where consistent performance emerges. Are we understanding this here, ladies and gentlemen? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Controlling what you can control only. Exactly. You can only control your process, behavior, discipline, emotional state, preparation, your response to loss. You cannot control the outcomes, your candles, volatility, timing, and that applies to life. There's things you can control and things you cannot control. You can't control whether your woman or your partner will leave you tomorrow, whether they decide to be like, you know what, fuck you, I don't want to be with you today. What you can control is the system you set up. What you can control is the perception you've had onto this in the first place, which is this is not permanent. This person will not be here forever. One day this will change, and I am completely fine with that because I can't control it anyways. Now, let's talk about wealth and internal maturity because this ties into this as well. The ethics of this, the ethics of wealth and internal maturity. You see, wealth amplifies your character, not your skill. You know this, we know this. Trading offers the possibility of fast money, accelerated money. The part most traders never consider is wealth does not, it doesn't just expand your lifestyle. It expands your inner world, your flaws, your impulses, your habits. These things get amplified. You see, Seneca, he said, it is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. A rough road. You see, that's what leads to the height of greatness. And it's not rough because of the market, but because the climb, that climb to the heights of greatness exposes everything inside you that isn't prepared for the summit. When money comes fast, it amplifies your character. The discipline becomes more stable. And the undisciplined implode. The market is not giving you wealth, it is giving you a mirror to see whether you can handle wealth. See the difference there? Money doesn't change you, it magnifies you, it amplifies you. If you're disciplined, wealth amplifies stability. You are chaotic, wealth amplifies destruction. This is why people go broke fast, because they've gained wealth through chaotic internal environments. If you are ego-driven, wealth amplifies delusion. You see, wealth without inner order creates chaos. And this is exactly where David Hawkins' work, it becomes extremely crucial here. Hawkins teaches that power without consciousness becomes destructive. And that's not just externally, but internally. We will be learning about that next week in that book study. Make sure you're there. So if your emotional state is reactive, insecure, impulsive, ego-driven, unstable, you see, wealth magnifies those exact traits. You don't become powerful. You become overwhelmed. Money in the hands of emotional chaos creates a financial chaos. You get me? So yeah, money in the hands of, say, emotional alignment, sovereignty, that creates mastery. It creates longevity. It creates what you would call stewardship. So here's the truth most traders never get to realize. Your true wealth will be shaped more by who you become than by the trades you take. So therefore, if you do not master your emotional world, your identity, your discipline, your principles, your philosophy, your habits, your financial stress, or more so actually your financial success, instead of stress, your success will be temporary. And your stress becomes only more amplified. However, if your internal world is structured, strong, aligned, intentional, your external world will mirror that exact structure. From there, you will hold wealth with maturity. You will allocate capital wisely. You will make rational decisions. through the internal state of clarity. You will detach from ego. You will perform consistently. You will adapt without breaking. You see, wealth rewards character, not strategy. Wealth is not a destination. Wealth is simply a reflection of your internal architecture. When it comes to wealth, the question is not how much can you make? The question is, who must you become to hold what you desire? Because wealth without maturity destroys. However, wealth with maturity expands. That's a fact. The market gives you money at the rate you develop consciousness. That's a fact. Wealth is in the mind, not the pocket. Correct. I be jamming you niggas up on Friday. Y'all be jamming me up on Friday too. We just jamming. Gem for gem. So yes. Are you following me? Yes, sir. Following. Yes, sir. This is just too good. I don't know what to do with it. That's what she said. Yes. Amazing. Stewardship and self responsibility. Stewardship. Had to recently learn this one as well. Had to recently learn this one as well. Had to add this one to the bag. Mastery means becoming someone who can be trusted with outcomes. Mr. Get It Done. He's always respected. He's always valued. She actually. Sorry. Mastery is not about getting wealth. It's about becoming the person who can manage it. You see, there's a hard truth in trading that very few people want to confront here. You see, making money is easy. That's the easy part. Keeping money requires a different version of you. Because the moment you become profitable, the moment you start experiencing consistency, the moment real capital enters your hands, you are controlled by a different challenge. Can you be trusted with the power that you're asking for? You see, this is where trading transitions from technical to existential. Most people don't even get to reach this part, but once they do, there's problems that come with this part, with profitability. You see, you have Seneca. Once again, Seneca got so many quotables, man. Dude is inspirational. He said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity. The one who just had cheat codes from the start. A game with just that you just played simply through with cheat codes is never an enjoyable game. You never got to experience difficulty. But why? Why? Because adversity teaches you responsibility. Without adversity, you never learned boundaries. You never learned discipline. You never learned emotional regulation. You never learn self control. Your lessons are your best teachers. So if you never get to learn these lessons, who's going to teach you? How are you really going to learn? Seneca understood that the person who avoids discomfort becomes fragile, very fragile. And so in trading, fragility shows up immediately as blowing accounts during stressful moments, breaking rules during your volatility, losing emotional balance during your drawdowns, sabotaging when the pressure increases, when it looks like the stakes are high, when you believe you can't afford to lose, you over leveraged, and now you have that pressure of like, damn, I over leveraged, and there's just much more pressure because if I lose bad. If I win good. You sabotage. So if you haven't built the inner resilience, you will crumble under outer opportunity. Responsibility is forged through adversity, through lessons. You see, you got Epictetus. He said, "No great thing is created suddenly." See, here, you're not building a skill, you're not building a strategy, you're building a person. A person with what? A person with consistency, clarity, emotional maturity, intelligence, emotional intelligence, decisiveness, patience, groundedness, grounded awareness, a sense of stewardship and self responsibility. And that right there takes time. It takes adversity. Epictetus reminds us transformation isn't instantaneous. You see, this is earned through daily practice, one disciplined moment at a time, one grounded encounter at a time. You don't become a responsible trader in a moment. You grow into one. So when Seneca says, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, this is exactly why. So then you have David Hawkins. Once again, from his lenses, from his teaching, responsibility is consciousness. Hawkins teaches us that the highest levels of consciousness require the highest levels of responsibility. And so responsibility here, or in general, responsibility does not mean self-criticism, guilt, blame, unnecessary pressure. Responsibility, what it means is taking ownership of your actions, taking ownership of your decisions, taking ownership of your emotional state, ownership of your preparation, your discipline. You do not control outcomes. You do control alignment, though. So Hawkins' message is quite simple. You rise in power when you rise in responsibility. Trading rewards you at the level of your maturity, not at the level of your desire. So let's tie this bridge together much more clearly. People who lack responsibility in life. Let's talk about what people who lack responsibility in life do. Can you name a few? What do people who are irresponsible, who lack responsibility in life, what do they do? Are these available in downloadable files? We will be doing book studies very soon, and the David R. Hawkins Letting Go is in The Rise with Rio. Blame others for outcomes. Blame others for everything. Blame outside of themselves. Don't complain. They complain. Find excuses. Victim mind. Correct. People who lack responsibility in life, they blame others. People who lack responsibility in life, they procrastinate. They avoid difficult truths. They break commitments. They're unloyal people. They're unloyal people. So obviously they'd be unloyal to their strategy, their system. They bypass discomfort. They avoid it at all costs. They make excuses. You see, these same people in the market, they blame the market. They system hop, just like they homie hop. Just like how shorties homie hop. You got people, you got traders out here who system hopping from system to system. What's the next best trend? They see somebody winning with the ICT. Oh, let me hop on the ICT wave. They see somebody winning with the ICC wave. Oh, let me hop on the ICC wave. They see Romel funded with 5 different challenges up 150K. Oh, let me hop on the Holy Grail joint. These same people, they hop systems. They chase dopamine trades. They break rules. They justify mistakes. They avoid data. They avoid truths. So now that we know people who lack responsibility in their lives, how about people who do who hold responsibility in life? What's the traits of some of those people? Let me know. They take ownership of their lives or what they're in control of. Correct? Give me some more. Give me some gems, y'all. What do people who hold responsibility of their life do? They look for the problem in themselves, not others. Correct. Stack knowledge and internalize growth. Correct. These people show up consistently. They follow through. People of their word, that's what they are. They keep promises. They manage their emotions. They act with intention. They maintain order. That's in life. They don't cheat, honest, disciplined, progress. They can be relied on, correct. Always respectable. These people leave the world respected. Those who hold responsibility in their life. Integrity. Start with discipline. They do what's necessary, what has to be done now. They learn from their mistakes. They tend to be leaders. Exactly. So what this looks like in trading, people who hold responsibility in life, they execute clean, smoothly, cleanly. They respect their rules. They respect their system. They obey their system. You set this plan, this extensive plan of, okay, when A is done, I will do B, and that equals C. C I cannot control. I can only control B and A. They execute clean. They respect their rules. They maintain stability. They grow slowly and securely. They build longevity. They scale effectively. These are the kind of people in which, when wealth arrives, it will complement these traits and amplify these traits. You trade the way you live. Stewardship is simply the ability to live aligned. With stewardship, I add this one to your bag too. Stewardship. Add this to the bag. What it means is you are trustworthy, you are emotionally sovereign, you are disciplined, you are deliberate, you are aligned, you are grounded, you are consistent. That kind of person will always be respected. That kind of person, the universe will always reward. And it's just a realism by chance because the system in which they set up allows them to succeed in uncertain niches, in uncertain outcomes. The market does not reward talent, it rewards self responsibility and inner order. Your future wealth depends on the person you are becoming, not the strategy you're using. Who are you behind that strategy? Who are you behind that strategy? Because that's what's really going to matter here. That's what really determines the longevity here. You can get lucky and have a few winning months, few winning weeks, few good payouts. But who's that person behind all of that? Who's receiving that? What is that wealth complementing about that person? Destruction or expansion? So, yes. Are you following me? So, with the identity of the future trader, I've been in this motherfucker for a minute. It's all good though. It's a beautiful Friday. The identity of the future trader. See, identity determines execution. You can't trade consistently with the psychology of the person you are now if it's not serving your best good in your trading and your execution, your decision making, your analysis, your perception. See, you cannot trade consistently with the identity that created inconsistency. Let me say that one more time. You cannot trade consistently with the identity that created inconsistency. Most traders try to improve their results by learning more strategy, tweaking their system, refining entries, adjusting risk. Too much technical effort, yet they overlook the one thing that determines everything here, and that is identity. You do not act inconsistently because your system is weak. You act inconsistently because your identity is misaligned. You cannot behave in a way that contradicts who you believe you are. So what that looks like, what that means is you can learn the best setups, the best risk model. You can learn the holy grail. You can learn the best strategy. But if your identity is still reactive, if your identity is still impulsive, afraid of losing, ego driven, undisciplined, validation seeking, emotionally unstable, your behavior will always collapse back into these patterns, no matter how perfect the system is. That is not a trading problem. It is an identity problem. This is the heart of the transformation you're here to make. This is the whole point of it. The entire point of it. So, to add another book or example into this, you have Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atomic Habits by James Clear. He says, or in that book, it says, true behavior change is identity change. James Clear, he explains that every habit, good or bad, is a reflection of identity. It's proof of your identity. Consistency is identity. Discipline is identity. Reactivity is identity. Impulsiveness is identity. Greed is identity. Patience is identity. Emotional stability or instability, both are identity. So if your identity says, I'm undisciplined, then even with the perfect trading system, your behavior will always return to what your identity believes. You fall back to your habits, to identity. Every action, what Clear has wrote, Clear states, he says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every action. Again, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every rule you follow, every trade you execute, every stop loss you respect, every emotional impulse you resist. It's a vote for the identity of the trader you're becoming. Identity is not changed through intention. It's changed through repeated alignment. It's changed through proving it to yourself. So here, it becomes a very sticky and a wacky situation when your identity says, I'm an undisciplined trader. I am impatient. And so you prove it to yourself through undisciplined and impatient actions and trades when you trade. And so that creates the feedback loop. Okay, now you have proof that you are exactly that. So now you're going to reinforce that on your next encounter where that's tested. And then it becomes answered once again. So it becomes this feedback loop of just strengthening that identity there. And these identities don't serve your best good. And now you see how you can't possibly win even with the best trading strategy. In Atomic Habits, James Clear writes, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if your system is unstable, that's exactly what you're falling back to. That's all you ever have for real. Your system. Your identity is your internal system. If your identity system is weak, your discipline is always going to collapse under pressure. If your identity system is strong, discipline becomes effortless because it's who you are. Discipline is just who you are. It's not something you do. It's not something you force. Discipline doesn't become an act of violence. It just becomes alignment to who you are. It becomes proof of who you are. It becomes proof that you are just sovereignty. You are that. It's not something you do. It's just something you are. And that's why it becomes effortless. You do not become a consistent trader by aiming for consistency. You become one by becoming the type of person who naturally behaves consistently. It's just naturally who you are. You see, identity drives behavior. However, behavior drives results. So that's why you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your system. And that system is identity. It's influenced by identity. You following me? Great. Great. So, from a life to trading perspective, identity everywhere or identity in life equals identity here in trading. And this is the bridge you got to see. If your identity in life is disorganized, reactive, fearful, insecure, avoidant, impulsive, undisciplined, then your trading identity will replicate those exact same qualities, and wealth will amplify those exact same qualities. So if your identity in life becomes instead grounded, self aware, patient, emotionally mature, disciplined, calm, aligned, your trading follows effortlessly. That trading desk, that laptop, wherever you trade just magnifies who you already are. The future trader you envision is not created through effort. They are created through identity. You become consistent by becoming a person for whom consistency is natural. It's just who you are. You become disciplined by becoming a person who acts from discipline, not emotion. You become profitable by becoming a person who is internally stable, not externally reactive. Identity is the foundation that supports every behavior you want. So change the identity because that's the root. And so the trader changes automatically when the identity is changed. You change the identity and the trader changes automatically because the identity is the self. And the normal self and the trader self are just one self. That self gets amplified. So yes, to in a sense wrap this all up, when the inner world aligns, the outer world follows here. Your external results will always reorganize themselves to match your internal architecture. One of the most important realizations any of us can have is your trading desk is an altar to your inner world. Literally. It reflects you, not the market. You cannot outperform the structures of your inner life. You cannot execute with precision if your internal world is constantly chaotic, disorganized, or emotionally fragile. Everything you struggle with in trading is a magnified expression of something happening internally. Trading is not separate from life. Your chart, that is a spiritual, psychological, philosophical scoreboard. You see, when you change how you breathe, perceive, judge, attach, surrender, choose, your trading changes automatically. The market rewards internal alignment. When your inner world becomes order, your chart becomes clearer. Your setups become simpler. Your emotions become quieter. Your execution becomes much more cleaner. Your rules become natural. Your discipline becomes automatic. It's about the brains behind the entire method. Markets stop feeling like an adversary or a battle. They start feeling like a rhythm. Trading starts to feel like a rhythm. A flow starts to feel like a song, like notes you're playing. Something you cooperate rather than fight. You stop trying to force outcomes and instead you align with probability. You stop trying to predict the future. Instead, you master the present. You stop trying to control everything. Instead, you control yourself because that's all you ever have control over. You don't have control over outcomes. You only have control over the systems you place for your input. Output is not up to you. So your trading performance, what that simply is, your trading performance is simply your inner life made visible to you, mirrored to you. Fixing your trading does not begin with more charts, more indicators, more systems. It begins with emotional order, identity transformation, alignments, internal discipline, presence, awareness, responsibility, intentional action. When your inner architecture becomes stable, your trading becomes stable. When your life becomes ordered, your execution becomes ordered. When your identity becomes aligned, your strategy becomes powerful. You do not trade the market, you trade your internal state.